Hi, my name is Colton Carlson. I am currently a senior at Dartmouth College. I'm studying applied mathematics and I plan to graduate in the spring of 2021. I'm I'm originally from Colorado, but I'm currently living in Vermont with my wife Danae and our two little boys, CJ, who is 5 years old, and Stephen, who is 3 years old. This fall term, I've been attending classes completely remotely. And just a little bit about myself. I'm a former Marine. I am a combat injured veteran, and I love to climb mountains. I want to tell you the story of how I transitioned from Marine Corps infantryman to Dartmouth student. I joined the Marine Corps in 2009 at the age of 19 with a GED and a handful of college credits from a local community college. I thought at the time that I wanted to be an automotive technician, but I was certain that I wanted to be a United States Marine. After completing recruit training and attending the School of Infantry, I was stationed with 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines out of Camp Pendleton, California. I excelled as a Marine. I received 3 meritorious promotions within the first 2 years of my enlistment. I was also able to attend numerous schools during my time as a Marine, where I developed skills in mountaineering and leadership. Things were going well for me, and I was seriously considering re-enlisting when my first contract was up. But I wanted to experience a couple of deployments before making any long-term decisions. My first deployment was aboard the USS Essex as part of the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit out of Okinawa, Japan. During that deployment, we spent time on ship as well as on land training with international forces in Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. My company also participated in a humanitarian effort dubbed Operation Tomodachi following the earthquake and tsunami that struck the coast of Japan in 2011. In the spring of 2012, I had deployed a second time. This deployment was a combat deployment to the Musa Kale district in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. After 3 months of conducting daily operations in Musa Kale, my company was called back to Camp Leatherneck to conduct helicopter-based operations for the remainder of our 7-month deployment. On May 8th, 2012, 4 days after my 22nd birthday, my company was conducting a raid on an area north of Musa Kale. My squad was responsible for holding overwatch from a ridge line that overlooked the valley that our company was clearing. We had sustained small arms fire throughout the day, and as the evening approached, my squad selected a location high above the valley floor to set in for the night, so we could continue holding security for the rest of our company. We used metal detectors to sweep the area for improvised explosive devices, and we set up our defensive position as the sun began to set. I was a team leader, so I was responsible for ensuring that my team had sufficient ammunition, food, and water to endure whatever the night might have in store for us. As I was delivering water to one of my Marines, I found myself on my back staring at the sky, grasping at the air with my hands as a cloud of dust wafted over me. My initial thought was maybe I had been run over by a truck, but I didn't know what had happened. There were no trucks nearby. I tried to stand up, but there was no weight in the lower portion of my body. So as I bent my torso in an attempt to sit up, my legs came up and I was able to see the bright white bones protruding from where my feet should have been. I knew I had been blown up, and as I looked at the Marines around me, I realized based on their reaction that we weren't under attack. I had stepped on a pressure plate initiated improvised explosive device that had been buried and concealed in the ground, and it had taken both of my legs. As I lay there, the thought of letting myself die and an uncountable barrage of other thoughts crossed my mind. I thought about what life might be like if I survived an injury like this. I thought about how the lives of my family and friends would be impacted if I didn't survive. But then I thought about my 9-year-old sister, Emma. I knew that I didn't want anyone to have to tell her that her big brother had been killed. So I grabbed the tourniquet out of my left shoulder pocket and began applying it to my left leg, which was the most severely damaged, in an attempt to slow the bleeding. Eventually, a few of the other Marines in my squad made it to my position and assisted in applying additional tourniquets to my legs. It took a total of 5 tourniquets to completely stop the bleeding. The blast took both of my legs, blew out both of my eardrums, and broke my right hand. I waited for 40 minutes for a casualty evacuation helicopter to arrive, and after a short flight, I arrived at Forward Operating Base Edinburgh, where I was transferred to a field hospital. After the doctor asked me what I could and couldn't feel and what I remembered from the earlier part of the day, they put me to sleep. 2 days later, I woke up in Landstuhl, Germany. I immediately called my mom to let her know that I was alive. She told me that she would be waiting to greet me when I arrived in the United States. She also told me that the girl I had had a crush on since I was 16 years old, Danae, had heard of my injury and was planning to visit me within a couple of weeks of my return. A few days later, I was flown from Germany to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland, where my parents and my little sister, Emma, were waiting for me. 2 weeks later, Danae visited for the first time, and she soon became an invaluable part of my life. During the early stages of my recovery, I made a promise to myself that I would not only learn to walk again, I would learn and become strong enough to snowboard and climb mountains and do the things that I love to do so I could live a fulfilling life. With the love and support of Danae and my family, I was able to make a rapid 1-year recovery from my injuries. During that year, I learned to walk on prosthetic legs and snowboard. While I was at Walter Reed, I met with an education advisor who assisted me in some college prep courses and tutoring. She mentioned that I was doing well and wanted to know if I had plans to return to college when I recovered. She mentioned that Dartmouth College was exceptionally friendly to veteran students and suggested that I should at least apply when the time came. I didn't realize that the woman I was speaking to was Heather Bernard, a close associate of President Emeritus James Wright, who is a champion of veteran education at Dartmouth. But at the time, I felt completely inadequate to even consider attending an institution like Dartmouth, so I discounted her question as an impossibility. Following my year of recovery, I returned home to Colorado, where Danae and I eventually got married. We spent our time during that first year at home snowboarding, hiking, and traveling, and enjoying life. In March of 2014, I attended an adaptive ski event in Breckenridge, Colorado, where I met the president of an organization that was assembling a team of injured veterans to climb Mount Aconcagua. Mount Aconcagua is a 22,850-foot peak in the Andes located on the border between Chile and Argentina. I wanted nothing more than to be part of this expedition, so I committed to the team. I spent much of the following year training and preparing to climb Aconcagua. So in January 2015, I traveled to Argentina to begin my climb. The expedition spanned 21 days, 11 of which were spent ascending, summiting, and descending the mountain. I had to persevere through a number of issues with my prosthetic devices throughout the climb, but ultimately I was the only adaptive climber to successfully summit Mount Aconcagua during that expedition. Despite my electronic knee failing catastrophically during my summit day, which turned my otherwise exhilarating summit experience into a grueling 19-hour crucible. After returning to the United States following my climb, having accomplished my goals of snowboarding and successfully summiting a big mountain as a bilateral amputee, I determined it was time to figure out my next step. I decided to enroll at Colorado State University as a mechanical engineering major, which required an entrance exam. I did reasonably well on the majority of the exam, except for the math portion, which I failed miserably. At this point, I only had a few months before the fall term began, so I put my self-teaching skills to good use and spent the remainder of the summer teaching myself math, starting with algebra. So later in the summer, just before fall term classes began, I retook the exam. I tested at a college level and I was able to begin my educational journey. That winter, the same organization that funded my Aconcagua expedition invited my wife and me to Stowe, Vermont to speak and share my summit experience with a group of donors who had sponsored the climb. The moment we arrived in New England, we fell in love with the area. As we drove from the airport in Manchester, New Hampshire to Stowe, Vermont, we passed through Lebanon, New Hampshire. We saw signs for Dartmouth College along the way, and we joked that I should apply to transfer so that we could have an excuse to live in this beautiful area. What started as a fun daydream grew into a serious aspiration and something that I found I truly wanted. I worked tirelessly to excel in my studies at Colorado State University so I could at least be a viable candidate for transfer to an Ivy League institution. I submitted my application as a transfer student to Dartmouth College for the 2017-2018 school year, and then I waited. I will never forget the anticipation or the feeling that I had when I read my acceptance letter. I'm so grateful for the experiences that I've had here at Dartmouth and the people that I've met along the way. It's been everything and so much more than Heather Bernard told me it would be. And because of this incredible opportunity, I truly believe that I will be able to provide a bright and beautiful future for both of my little boys. And that is something that I will never take for granted. Thank you.